This is the hack we figured out with listing tours is do an area tour that then leads into a neighborhood tour that then leads into your listing tour. The complete converse that I see agents screw up on is that they try to be Graham Stephan or Meet Kevin, or where they're just talking about all real estate everywhere. Let me be the economist of choice for the entire country. And they're like, oh, why am I not getting leads here in Orlando? Zillow, you're a functionary. You're opening a door and or giving a little bit of information about a house. They don't care about you.
If you're jumping on and you're wondering, who are these people? I'll start with myself. My name is Bobby Wright, part of the national team here at Real Producers, where we connect, celebrate, and equip the top producing agents across the country through our magazine, our exclusive events, social media, and the community at large. I'm co-hosting today, and as always, with my good friend and fellow RP troublemaker.
That's right.
What's up, Rem?
What's going on? Troublemaker. I like that.
Yeah. Between the two of us, we promise at least some of today will be useful for you. At minimum, entertaining. For me, this is a special one. Ken and I just met like 1 minute and 30 seconds ago, but I've known Ken a little bit longer and listening to the podcast and following you as a top producing agent. Ken, welcome. We're glad to have you here today. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Excited to be here and honored to be a part of the RP crew at this point. You guys are changing our communities one magazine at a time, one community at a time. So I appreciate what you guys do.
I like that. We did not pay Ken to say that. So Ken, a guy who's absolutely mastered the real estate game, specifically on YouTube. If you've not seen his channel yet, it's basically, I liken it to it's like the Disney World of real estate content, which is pretty fitting since he's based in Orlando. He's built a following of nearly 62,000 subscribers. I prepared this yesterday, so it's probably more than that. You've created hundreds of videos and turned your channel into pretty much a conversion machine. I don't recall the specific date of your most recent episode on our Real Producers podcast, but if you've followed that or if you've listened to that yet, Ken doesn't talk about just the strategy, he executes it. And that's the most important thing here. A lot of people talk, very few execute. Ken is of the small few who does, much like a lot of the top producers we work with. He shared on this podcast that he just recorded with us how YouTube became one of the most powerful engines behind his team's success. And today, we're going to get a little bit deeper into that. And yes, we're fully aware that this is not streaming on YouTube, in which Ken is an expert. But we figured we'd bring Ken to maybe some unfamiliar territory here, just to level the playing field. You okay with that, Ken?
I think I can handle it. We'll be good.
So whether you are brand new to video or you're already creating content, I guarantee you're going to walk away with some real tactics here that you can put to work. So gentlemen, I'm glad we're jumping in. I'm going to let Rem take it away.
All right. Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate you hopping on. If you guys are joining us, you probably heard about this either from our website or some of the marketing we've been doing about RP Elevate. Ken is a speaker at RP Elevate, our first national event, 150 markets nationwide. And welcome to the webinar. Welcome to the show, Ken. You had one of my favorite episodes of the year. Just super dynamic, talking about your craft. I just think, like, looking at the background, it's pretty epic. Like the amount of effort you've put into the framing of everything that you do on video. But before we jump in, here's my question. Is it too late? Is it too late to get into YouTube? You've been doing this for years now. People are on this webinar thinking, man, this guy's going to give me the keys to the kingdom. But I mean, YouTube's been around. Isn't TikTok the new thing? Isn't Snapchat or whatever the kids are doing the new thing? Like, is YouTube the old man?
Definitely not Snapchat, but I think it's still the biggest opportunity for us in our industry. I think I've been doing content on YouTube specifically for 6 years, but those first 2 years, heck, the first 4 years were me figuring it out. I feel like we've really, I only have 62,000 followers. I mean, that's frankly pretty small for YouTube standards. But we're hyper local. It's all about just Orlando real estate and news that's going on here. And so I think the cool thing about it is there's enough of us now that you can steal what we're doing and implement it in your market, and definitely pull leads, definitely, nurture your past clients in Sphere, get agent referrals. There's like a million reasons why I think YouTube is the place, even in 2025.
So did you fall into it? Remind me again, you haven't always been in Orlando, right? You originally, if I see you posting a lot about Detroit, what's that about?
Yeah, I'm from Detroit. I got into real estate there right out of high school, like 2003. And we built a team there. My wife and I were doing 100 units a year, nothing insane, but for Detroit standards, really good. And in 2016, we were like, what if we came down to Detroit or down to Orlando and maybe bought like a second home and we'd rent it out while we're not here? And kind of the story goes, like, we came down, we started the process, and we're like, what if we just move here? Like, that would be way more fun. So picked up everything 6 months later, moved to Orlando, and it's been 9 years of just starting over. Didn't know anybody here, and now we've got a team of 50, and things are going really well.
Man, I can totally see doing that as a snowbird and then a total convert. So I'm in Indianapolis, which is about 5 hours south of where you were. You're on the water. I tell you, every single February, I ask myself, why am I still here?
Yeah.
Why am I here? At least in the winter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that snowbird aspect. So then you went down to Orlando. Now, did you hop on these platforms? Did you hop on YouTube before, like originally when you were in Detroit, or is it something you discovered when you moved?
Yeah, something when I moved. I mean, when I started over here, it was all the old school stuff. It was expireds. It was for sale by owners. It was direct mail. I was doing a little bit of Zillow, a little bit of radio, a little bit of everything. Nothing was crushing, but somebody, 2017, late 2017, friend of mine in Jacksonville said, like, hey, I've been putting up these videos on YouTube, and like every once in a while people call me to buy and sell. And I'm like, okay, like, how are you doing that? That doesn't even make sense to me. Like, I go on YouTube to figure out how to fix a tire or how to fix, something in my house that's broken. I don't go there for much else. And so once he explained to me, hey, people are, use it as a search engine, and, here's how I'm doing these videos. And so he's using his cell phone, just editing them himself. I'm like, I could do that. So I put out like 100 videos in 100 days early on, and edited them with iMovie on my Mac and uploaded them late at night after the kids were in bed. And like 3 months in or so, people started calling me. And then over time, it's changed a lot since those days, but just started figuring it out by just time on task. And it's been a lot of fun.
I've been doing a lot of research on quantity over quality or quality over quantity. And in those early days, you didn't have bazillions of followers like you do now. And it would be really easy to compare yourself. Like if I'm starting off, like, here's what's interesting about real estate. If I've been in the game 15, 20 years, either as a vendor or a realtor, and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I'm actually pretty good at what I do, but I'm not good at YouTube. Like, I haven't mastered the YouTube. I would say even in our businesses, we haven't really mastered it. If we got into the game, we would start comparing ourselves. Well, Ken got thousands in the first couple minutes of this, but you're saying early on, your friend in Jacksonville was getting business from probably few viewers, like, a handful of. And like the popular thing right now is like, hey, you got 40 views and you get disappointed about that. But if you had a room full of 40 people and you were talking about it, like, you wouldn't be disappointed. So what should our expectations be getting into this early on?
I think early on, it's a great, so the thing I didn't realize that would happen was that I could use these videos early on for my Sphere. Now, so many people, we've heard in every book, the Red Book, the whatever book, it's, you should be in front of your clients 36 times a year. I would argue that in today's world that we have, you have so many ads, so many things coming at you. You need to be in your person's inbox, your Sphere's inbox, at least once a week. And what do you send them? Well, you could send them your YouTube video to start. And now you're staying in touch with them. It's kind of a done for you Sphere program where you're talking about your area, you're talking about your newest listing, you're talking about whatever you want to carve out as your niche. And so if you only get 40 to 100 views, who cares? Like, those are people that already know you. And then as you get better, you'll get better at figuring out how to get more and more organic reach. And then you'll get more subscribers, and then the leads start coming in. And so it's this force multiplier effect. I mean, we get leads every day from agents around the world that find us on YouTube that are like, hey, I've got a referral to place in Orlando. I went on YouTube. I typed in Orlando. You're the one who came up. Do you want a referral? Yes. Okay. So they're not doing that just because I have 62,000 subscribers. They're doing it because they typed in a neighborhood and I was the one who came up. And so you can do that on a really hyper local level.
Man. So if we go to your page, how many subscribers did you say you have?
Just on YouTube, we've got 62,000. And then on Instagram, between all three of our pages on Instagram, we've got a 210,000. And then TikTok, I think about 80 something thousand. So between all the platforms, newsletter and all that good stuff, it's pretty close to 400,000 now.
So if we go to your page, 62,000 subscribers, this is something I'm interested in the back end. Like, see, if you have 62,000, that doesn't mean when you post a video, you get immediately 62,000 views. What actually happens behind the scenes for those subscribers? Because I feel like sometimes people are like jacked about that and then their stuff still isn't being seen. So like, what's the trick there?
Yeah, I mean, so subscribers are great. It's a great base. But yeah, you're right. I mean, just because I have 60,000 people that have said, yes, I want to be interested in something Ken puts out, doesn't mean all of them have clicked the bell. So that's something we do a little call to action with on the page, like, hey, not only hit the subscribe, but hit the bell so you get updated on all the videos that I'm putting out. I would say, looking at my analytics, only 20% of the people that watch my videos are subscribers. So 80% of the people that watch our videos have just decided to just watch that one video and then bounce.
Wow.
And so that's why creating content that isn't, it's not just for the subscriber. It's for everybody.
So how do you focus on what videos to actually do? Because for your business, I've read up on content and like the difference between educational and entertainment. Some videos get more views. The other videos actually get the results that you want, but it's almost like you have to have a balance of both. I've seen your content. Some of them are focused specifically on houses. Sometimes it's focused on what you can do in the area, or Disney since you're in Orlando. Some of them are just pure entertainment. How do you balance what you're actually shooting and what you're posting?
So I've got 3 buckets that I personally use. And when you're starting out, probably 2 is more than enough. But like we do, our buckets are community tours and listing tours. And to break that down really quick, like listing tours are really hard to get any kind of action unless you're like, again, Ryan Serhant, Innis, some of these other big names. So they've got millions of subscribers and like a national base. People pretty much don't care about your 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath in Indianapolis. Like no offense. But but what they do care about is like, if you could, this is the hack we figured out with listing tours is do an area tour that then leads into a neighborhood tour that then leads into your listing tour. And that will get more views. And you're also going to get sellers and buyers, because that's one thing that like the knock on YouTube realtors is that it's only buyer leads. Well, the way that the hack that we've gotten more seller leads is I start the video out. I say, hey, today I'm going to take you on a tour of Orlando. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the sickest new listing that I just put on the market. You're going to love it. Stay tuned. And then we talk about the area. And then we go, hey, now that you know the area, let's go into this gated community that is ridiculous. There's reasons why people love living in Keens Point. And then at the end, the last 3 minutes, I'm talking about my sellers are going to flip, seeing this video, or seeing their house on this video. But let me take you inside because their pool is insane. You're going to love it. And so we're talking about my sellers the entire time. So then I'm kind of calling out this idea of like, I work with buyers, I work with sellers. We market better than anybody else. And those videos are evergreen. So once the listing is already sold, it's still valuable content for people considering moving to the area. So that's our listing tours strategy.
Right, pause. I have to break that down before you go on.
Okay.
Because you said, and you were joking, but you're not joking. No one cares about my 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Indy. But some people do, but they're not going to watch the video from all over, or they're not going to find it there. They're going to find the cooler video first. So if I look at Indianapolis as a base, and there's an area called Broad Ripple, it's like a college town, there's a bunch of shops, touristy. I do a video on Broad Ripple, and I explain the top 3 restaurants to go there, the top 3 fun things to do, where to walk your dog, all that. Do I also have the 3-bedroom, 2-bath video that's like ready to go when people are like, I like this guy, what else does he do? Or are you saying that at some point you hit a wall where you just don't even need to do that anymore? They're just watching your content for other stuff, and then they'll find out you sell houses otherwise.
I'm not hiding the fact that I'm a real estate agent. I'm very, very much so like, hey, I'm a real estate agent. This is how I make money. But what I'm saying is do the area tour. And then at the end of that area tour, drop in your listing video.
Okay.
which for us is rough because and rough. I mean, like hard life, but like we have like 60 to 70 listings at any time, and so sometimes we're having to do repeater videos or like take a different bent on that area tour to still drop in our listing tour at the end. I just think it's too like there's still too many agents out there putting 123 Main Street, Indianapolis tour as like the title, and then they're just like, hey, here's my newest listing, come on through. The amount of people that care about that is very, very small. So you got to figure out how do you drop in your listings and what your value proposition is for buyers into something like maybe a little bit wider of a funnel, but not too wide that it's not like all real estate. Like the complete converse that I see agents screw up on is that they try to be Graham Stephan or Meet Kevin, where they're just talking about all real estate everywhere. Let me be the economist of choice for the entire country. And they're like, oh, why am I not getting leads here in Orlando? Well, it's because you're trying to be all things, all people.
Country's real estate.
What's that?
The country's realtor is what you're
The
trying.
country's realtor instead of your local market. So I'm doing this to find that perfect medium of how can I get the most amount of views and the most amount of leads.
Yeah.
And everything else is kind of like secondary.
Now you say, if you need to stay in front of your clientele, and I know this, I can't remember where I read the stat, but I've used it ever since. And I believe it to be true. It's 6 times cheaper to advertise to your current clients or past clients than it is to go out and find new clients. If we agree with that, and you're saying, hey, instead of 36 touches a year, it needs to be weekly, 50 plus. Would that be a good place to start instead of trying to get fancy with every weekly video? Could a listing video or 2 be like that weekly email that is sent, like 2 or 3 videos? Yeah. So let's break down your page. Can I pull it up here?
Yep.
No, you're embarrassed to be on camera. Here we go. So 62 subscribers, 698 videos. How long did it take you to get there?
It's been like nearly 7 years now.
7 years, 700 videos. Man, that's epic. All right. So now we get to the top of your page. Like if we're just dissecting your page itself, for you, I'm not sure how that's populated, but your popular videos are at the top. That seems like a smart thing to do because this one have 1.9 million views. Inside Shaq's Home. Did you sell Shaq's Home?
I didn't, man. It was crazy. It was on the market for years with different agents. And I just called, like it expired twice. And then the next agent I called and I said, hey, Tiffany, the last 2 agents sucked. I'm sure you're going to be better, but why don't we give like a full video tour? I'll bring my crew out. We'll just do a co-branded video together and I'll put it on my YouTube channel. And at the time, I think I had like 17,000 subscribers, which was still more than most agents in my area. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I put it up and it hit like 1 million views the first year. I'm like, dang. So I didn't sell Shaq's house. But the wild thing is people assume that, hey, if you're trusted to go into this $16 million house that luxury. So we started getting up like plenty of $2 and $3 million buyers from that video, which was pretty cool.
See, there's a lesson in that. Like, let's say you're not as well established and you don't have that leverage, but investing a little bit of time and money into a really high quality video that is co-branded for something that wasn't even your listing, like just thinking outside the box. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up into, okay, we have one client. How can we make that one client duplicate and then spend the rest of the money on Facebook or Zillow ads? But you're like, how can I attract people? How can I get more people by co-branding this? Like, you didn't make any money off of this except for the fact that you brought leads in. That's brilliant. Okay, so and I like that. How important is the thumbnail? I'm looking at these thumbnails. These are pretty sweet. This one's, I don't know how you're live in 2 different places and live with me, but somehow you do.
That's another past live show. So I do a show. This is for you. This is your For You page, not exactly my page.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah. So, but if you scroll down, like, so if you hit like the live, I go live every Thursday, and I just do like a live show. We talk about everything going on in Orlando. So new developments, new news that might be affected to people that living here, new restaurants, new tax code, new whatever. And so in that, we take that long form and we rip that into a podcast. And then we take that long form and we chop it down into 5 to 7 reels. And that goes on Instagram and TikTok. And so we say we chop till we drop. So I do that. I do that every Thursday night. I go live at 7:00. And here's the other crazy thing is like, I go live and there's hundreds of people that watch live and they ask questions and they engage. Whereas, I mean, think about how long it would take to get 200 people into a room for a buyer seminar, like how much work that takes. And yet I do that every Thursday night. And then typically every Tuesday or Saturday, I am uploading a new video. So like 4 days ago, that was Saturday, I did billions invested into Orlando area roads. I had the lady who runs, it's like top left on your page. I interviewed the lady of CFX. She like and she's in control like $22 billion in roads. And so I was like, hey, roads are a big deal. It affects affordable housing. It affects our growth. It affects everything. So this makes sense to put on our page. So I interviewed her and put that up. So yeah, I've got like basically 2 different buckets that I do every single week. It's my live show and then something about Orlando real estate or something like that.
Let me get in the weeds with you a little bit on this live show. So you go live every single Thursday at 7:00. You've got, as I'm just looking at the last couple weeks, the last 3 videos, 4.7 thousand views, 3.9 thousand views, 5.3. You're coasting in the 4,000 or 5,000 range. You got one that hit like 9,000. And these exist after the fact. So even if you got hundreds of people watching, they continue to stay on there. Just a couple in the weeds questions. This thumbnail that exists, do you do that after the fact, or is that how you promote it when you're going live?
Yeah, I usually put the thumbnail up, and I'll because people I do at least 40 shows a year, and so and then we don't do it for like week of Christmas, week of New Year's or something like that. But we use StreamYard, and you can put up the thumbnail so people will know what the show is going to be about, and then they can tune in prior to. But then the way YouTube works is that after the show is already posted, I can go back in and add chapters. I can add in like, hey, if there's random questions that popped up, I can add chapters to that. And the beautiful thing about chapters, if you don't know, if you've ever searched on Google, I know a lot of people are starting to use ChatGPT or some other places, but like any kind of AI. But if you go to Google and you type in any one of those stories that I talked about, and you've seen chapters broken down in the search results, that's how we get found organically. And so I'll do these shows and then chop up the show afterwards into like 20 different chapters on things we talked about. And now I'm showing up like crazy organically, which is pretty cool.
This is eye-opening. I'm realizing there's things that we don't even do that we need to be doing that would help us, especially for sorting and especially where things exist live. Like right now, we were laughing at how we're not even live on YouTube right now for this actual webinar. That was just a hindsight, right? And we'll definitely post this after the fact. But for the agents, so how many agents are on your team?
28.
There's 28 agents on your team. You're the figurehead and the character that everyone sees. How much do you encourage the agents under you to also be posting to YouTube?
So we have a separate channel. If you go back, you could see it's the Posit Group channel. So I'm not on that channel, although Posit Group, we kind of assume that I'm affiliated with one way or the other. And so we have a videographer on staff that literally is going out every week with my team now and doing neighborhood tours. That's pretty much all they do on that channel. And so if you go click on mine where it says Ken Posick.
Right here.
Yep. And then if you scroll down, it says like other channels or affiliated channels. Keep going right there. It says Posit Group. So we just kicked this off. This is the crazy thing is like we've learned YouTube really well to where, this one has this channel only has 1,000 subscribers right now. Again, pretty new. But if you scroll over on those videos, some of them have 17,000 views, 18,000 views, 8,000 views, right? So because we figured out what works and what doesn't work on YouTube, from the thumbnails to the title to watchability. And so now my goal is to build out a whole like stable of agents on my team that are good on YouTube that fill the gaps that my channel doesn't have, or maybe I'm just tired of talking about, so they can see different faces and that sort of thing. So we still own the content. The leads that come through on the team still go kind of round robin that way, but it gives my team members an opportunity to jump in and be seen as well.
So this is interesting. Okay, so how do you create? Are you using email, newsletters to post? Are you cross-pollinating with Facebook and Instagram? If I post something like you only have, and when I say only, that's a lot, like 1,000 subscribers for a brand new page with only like 9 videos. This first video got 17,000 views. So how do you create a brand new page gets 17,000 views on it, it can't just be the thumbnail. How are you boosting that video?
Yeah, I mean, it goes in the thumbnail or goes in the newsletter, which maybe attributes to 1,000 views, but all of those are organic. So like Soto, a complete guide to him at Orlando's hidden gem, 18,000 views. And it's interesting, like I could show you on the back end of our analytics. It's slow growth. Like a lot of it's slow than sudden. You might only see 1,000 views the first month, and then all of a sudden it just takes off. Like it gets sucked back into the algorithm. And that's the cool thing about YouTube is that, again, to your first question of today, is it too late? YouTube's spending so much more money on getting, there's YouTube TV. You go to MLB, NBA, NFL, you can go watch anything on YouTube now on YouTube TV. And they're partnering with MLB packages. They're trying to integrate into everything we do. And the amazing thing is that you can show up alongside of all of that insanely popular content organically for free. And so if you get caught up in that YouTube ecosystem, it's just fun to figure it out.
What metrics matter to you most, Ken? Is it views, watch time, subscribers, comments?
Leads. Yeah, leads.
What leads to leads? What leads to leads?
Mm.
What metrics lead to leads?
Yeah, I mean, I would say views. That Shack house was, while it's in Orlando, there were people watching in Istanbul, right? Like they're not buying a house. And so I would rather 10 to 20,000 localized views, because that's going to result in the most amount of actual leads. The bigger the story, the more views I get. But again, a lot of that could be from anywhere. And so my personal goal is to stay in that sweet spot where my ideal audience that might actually transact is going to find it. And I find, to me, my goal is like that 20,000 to 30,000 views after the first week is kind of my sweet spot.
Can we break down your content for a second? Because you said earlier you start with a Thursday show. Like that's a place where you tease out a lot. And there's probably, I'm guessing you don't script that, or maybe you do. Do you script that?
So I come with like 7 or 8 stories, and I'll grab from the Orlando Business Journal, the Orlando Sentinel. I do some permitting sleuthing. Hey, I found this developer here just bought, they just took down 1,000 acres. Here's what we think is coming in the area. So I'll come with like 7 to 9 stories. So that's the only script I have. Like, it's not like scripted. It's just, here's
not looking
the
at
outline. Yeah.
So
And then
got all
I'm
this.
just looking at the comments to respond to comments and have a back and forth.
Man, that's great. So then you start with that. This is the longest form that you have for this particular thing. Then you chop it into shorts, and then you chop that even further. And so that's a great way to get into this, because I think sometimes we have analysis paralysis. Like, what do we do? Like, what kind of content do we shoot? And there's so much opportunity just to hop on ChatGPT and be like, hey, I'm a real estate agent in Indy, and I want to create a bunch of content, but I don't know where to start. And then you kind of, what I think is the most interesting, and I think where most people are land, is their own passionate views on things. If you're like really into reality TV, or if you're really into like celebrities, like the ability to say, hey, listen, to every week, I'm going to pick one celebrity house and break it down and why it's cool and tell you a little bit about the celebrity. Like that could exist. I'm just learning from that one Shaq video. Like,
yeah,
you could do that, and it has nothing to do with the house that you're selling in Indianapolis, but it leads people to that because you're attracting people to you, which is, I think, what you've really mastered, is attracting people that are like you to yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
Not just, it's not just customers either. It's the people you're recruiting, because you're a big recruiting guy as well. 28 people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes everything. I mean, we're interviewing people for staff. We're interviewing people for agents. We try to keep our agent count tight. Like, we don't want to have agents just for agents' sake. I could scale to 100 agents within the next 6 months if I wanted to. We have people that reach out every day to join the team from our content, because we're putting out that stuff, and but we're pretty picky. We try to figure out, okay, are these people a culture fit? We've defined our culture. What does that look like? So that way, when they come, like YouTube leads come and they expect to work with me, and I'm like, oh, you actually don't want to work with me. You want to work with Dylan, and here's why. I can confidently say that, and then feel like they've got a really good fit. So that's the way we go about it.
You mentioned leads being the number one thing you're going for here. I'm curious, how does a YouTube lead compare to something like a Zillow lead?
Oh, like 10 times better, literally. They're bought into you. Like Zillow, Zillow, you're a functionary, like you're opening a door and or giving a little bit of information about a house. They don't care about you as an agent. They could care less. In fact, they're expecting 2 or 3 or 4 agents to reach out to them to give them more information about 123 Main Street. And from what I hear from friends, I don't do Zillow or Realtor.com, but friends of mine that have Zillow Flex teams and other places, they're trying to convert at like 3 to 4%. We have a significantly higher conversion rate than that. And when those people reach out, they're bought into us. They might not be looking to buy or sell for a year or two, but some of them are like, hey, we're coming tomorrow and we've been following you for 3 years. And Ken said on that one video that this specific neighborhood is pretty great. Can you guys tour us so we can buy a house this weekend? They're really warmed up because they're bought into us as a fiduciary, not just a functionary.
It seems like you're bought into YouTube more so than just what has gained you. Like you're bought into what they're doing outside of. They're buying up things. They're spending money in the right places. They're paying attention to their clientele. Whereas the quick couple words you said about Zillow seems like the opposite. It seems like they're out to out to get you, but like it's been a very harsh narrative for Zillow and agents over the past 10 years. And so, just listening to you, it seems like you should put your effort to where people are investing back into you.
Personally, I think. My brand that we build is something that I own. If I decide not to work with Zillow again or not work with Realtor.com again, those leads just are shut off, and I have no brand equity. I have no more leads because I stopped paying them, right? And I know there's a whole referral model now and that kind of thing. But like, listen, I don't like Zillow personally for my personal business model. Now I know there's some other agents that crush it and do well. At the end of the day, Zillow did what the real estate agents should have done, which was capture eyeballs, make a great search engine where people want to look at houses, make a better user interface, all of those things. And so I lived at all the places where Zillow sucks, which is hyper-local content, answering questions people want to find out about beyond just a estimate. So that's kind of what our content's about.
What about the downside to YouTube? Have you ever made mistakes? Have you seen agents make mistakes? Have you ever lost a deal because of something you said on YouTube?
No, I don't talk about politics or religion. I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, politics or religion is the only thing I don't talk about. And so you're going to attract your tribe. And so there are going to be people that if I talk too much about theme parks, then people are like, oh, Orlando is way more about theme parks. If I talk about downtown Orlando, which is like far away from the theme parks, all the theme park people are like, oh, this video sucks. I don't want to go downtown, right? So you're never going to make everybody happy, but it's the consistency over time and being okay with just falling in love with the process of getting better, because it's still a grind. Like I would rather create videos than call expired listings. And yet it's still, every week you're showing up, every week you're shooting, every week you're commenting, every week you're, being that creator. And so it takes a different kind of person that's willing to commit to it, like really long term.
What content do you think is overdone or doesn't convert?
Well, I could think about it from an Instagram perspective. I feel like the funny stuff that people try to do, like a lot of agents, they try to use humor. I don't know many people that convert from humor because they think you're like, oh, you're the funny real estate agent, but do you actually know what the hell you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important. Beyond that, I think it's more so just, refining who you are. I think, if you overly script and you can tell you're being inauthentic, that doesn't convert. I can see that. I can see right through when somebody is overly leaning on a teleprompter and it just feels inauthentic. So that's why we use the outline method instead, where it's just like, here's the intro, here's the 3 or 4 bullet points we're going to go after, and then an outro with a call to action. I think that's for us worked significantly better.
Let's dig into that. Tell me the formula. And I just now caught the chat. The unique thing about doing this on Zoom is we could actually get live questions. So if you want to facilitate questions and feed them to me, that'd be great. So Ken, before we do that, what's the makeup? What's the formula for the first 30 seconds of a video? And maybe it's different for Instagram than it is YouTube.
Both of them, Instagram and YouTube, both are about the hook. You Instagram, you have less time. And so it's 3 to 4 seconds max. YouTube is more like 20 seconds or less. So I think people, you're on YouTube and you're typically willing to watch a longer video. Like our live videos are 45 minutes to an hour long. And people watch on average 20 minutes of those. So you're just in the mindset of like, I'm going into this willing to give it a few minutes of my time to see if it's good or not. Whereas on Instagram, you're just trying to be entertained as quick as possible. TikTok is the same way. And so you've got a much shorter attention span on Instagram than you do on YouTube. And so for us, we try to make the title and the title and the thumbnail match. It doesn't have to be the same words, but like don't say shocking things about Orlando and then put the same exact words on the thumbnail. And then I'm like this. And then the video has nothing to do with that, right? Like we're not trying to go after clickbait here, right? So the idea is that they clicked on the thumbnail for a reason. They thought that information was valuable. So you take those 20 seconds or 10 seconds at the beginning to validate that what they clicked on is what they're going to get.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's, hey, you might be considering moving to Orlando and there's top 5 things that you have to know before you do that. Well, that video better be the top 5 things.
The top 5 things. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. And then get into it. Like don't add too much B-roll. Don't add too much other fluff. Like get right into it as fast as possible because eventually you will start weaning. Your attention span will start going away if you're not continually giving good value.
We've got some follow-up questions here on the difference between Instagram and YouTube. Bobby, I'll let you ask those. Before that, the thumbnail specifically. The thumbnail that I'm looking at your thumbnails and you have high quality photography and they might be screenshots from videos, but I don't think they are. Do you spend time like doing an actual photo shoot to get all these different clips?
Usually it's the in-field playbook that we go by does have on there. Don't forget thumbnail video, photo. And yet we do forget 30 to 40% of the time. And so my videographer, we just do a screenshot and then throw it into Canva, raise the sharpness of it and just adjust it a little bit and rock from there.
Yeah. Bobby, what's the crowd asking?
Well, I'm going to just go based on something you said just a moment ago, just to knock this out. You mentioned videographer. Did you start with the videographer or did you build up to that over time? Dan, thanks for the question.
Great question. So I started with my cell phone for the first 100 and something videos. And then around like maybe 120th video out, I hired an editor first. And so very similarly, like you're all familiar with your real estate business and we've heard every real estate coach, you hire to the lowest dollar per hour work first. And so for me, it was, I need to stop editing these videos. I'm not good at it. And I could probably find somebody on Fiverr or Upwork for $80 to $100. So that's the cheapest labor I could find to get me my time back. And the video improved. And then it became, okay, these videos are fine. The editor's fine. But now that I've got some closings, I'm going to hire somebody locally. So I worked out a contract with somebody that I said, hey, I'm going to shoot with you every single week. I know you charge a big number for one-off video, but I'm going to commit to you to send a video every single week. I want a discount. And, wedding videographers, there's plenty of videographers in your hometown that would love consistent work because what I found was that most videographers hate the business development world where they have to go find the leads, quote the leads, work the leads, and then go do the business and deliver and, all that, right? So negotiate with somebody early on. And then once you're eventually crushing it, you bring somebody on full time. And now that person's doing one good long form for you a week and maybe even in some short form in between. And then now we look up, again, we've got a team of 50. 3 of those are full-time videographers. And so they're working with my team. They're working with our listings. They're working with my channel. And we'll continue to grow that team out.
Fantastic. We see that in our businesses locally and nationally, Ken. The majority of our videographers and photographers, we actually are the best source of marketing for them. They get to put their work on display, which we know we have to commit to the fact that we're about to make them so busy that we're going to have to go looking for another videographer and photographer here pretty soon. So totally vibe with that. Dan's got a few more. Thanks, Dan. How do you choose what to post on Instagram and TikTok versus YouTube?
All of our for what we do, we go hyperlocal news and real estate on Instagram. And so whatever I think is going to be worthwhile for the population of Orlando, which is roughly 3 million people. If I think it's interesting, then we go there. So it's just, how can I chunk it down to 45 seconds or so? YouTube's long. Like the goal for YouTube is the longer the better. If people are still watching, the longer the better. And so when you start off on YouTube, people say, what's the ideal length of video that you should do? And I say like 5 to 7 minutes to start. But the goal is that as long as your average view duration stays good and or growing, then the longer the video, the better, which is why I can go live on YouTube for an hour and people still stick around to watch. Is that helpful?
That's super helpful. Because that's where I mean, one of the questions we're going to end with is where to start. And I think a lot of people have gotten into the short game because it's easier to film those. It's easier to film a bunch of content where someone really long and then they just chop it up and make you look good for 30 seconds. It's a lot harder to keep someone's attention for the entire, 20-minute video or even 5 minutes for that matter.
Yeah.
I think that's a good answer.
Yeah. One of my biggest takeaways from what you said early on was the chop till you drop. And, my answer from what I gathered from you, Ken, is film a bunch of content and figure out where the clips should go, right? I mean, just get yourself on video. In your case, it's a live Thursday evening video, but long form, great, turned into a podcast, turned into YouTube content, turned into TikTok. That all makes complete sense to me. I think we make this a lot harder than it should be in 2025. That was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it all right away. That's the thing. I think everybody should start with YouTube. I found that YouTube's great for lead generation. Instagram and TikTok is great for lead conversion. And so we have a lot of people that come into our DMs that are like, I found you on YouTube and now I've followed you on Instagram just to make sure you're a real person. And then now I'm reaching out to sell or buy a house. And so for me, it's like, it's the funnel. And so start with what you can do. And then if you decide to do all of these things, like we put out between everything, 200 pieces of content a month, but we didn't start there. Started out significantly smaller than that.
Talk to me about Facebook real quick. 'Cause Facebook has, for the longest time, when I first got into the industry, that was like my cheat code is I was 25. The average age of the realtor was 55 and they didn't even know how to log into Facebook. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to create a class that teaches them Facebook marketing. That was my entrance into like being able to sell more closing gifts.
Sure.
But now it feels like millennials, like Gen Z, Gen X, we're all getting older before we buy homes. So a lot of the home buyers, in fact, you tell me if I'm wrong, most of the home buyers are on Facebook and Instagram, if anything. Are the home buyers getting on these younger platforms yet?
I mean, like, again, I have a TikTok with 80,000 followers, but I don't personally use it. My team uploads there and then we call it a day. I'm on Instagram all day, every day. I'm on Facebook. And so I've got it segmented. My Facebook and LinkedIn are mostly for real estate agents that I'm looking for agent referrals on. And so I think I've got 11,000 followers on Facebook. I would gather that 10,000 of those are real estate agents because I put out more real estate facing content. And that's another thing is understanding the brand and the audience you're building on what platform. So you can be the funny realtor. That's fine. Maybe you get agent referrals, but just know you're probably not going to get localized leads from that, right? So that's how I personally use Facebook. And we get dozens of agent referrals every single month. Most of it is because of the Facebook stuff I do.
We talked on the first show about how you're basically a media company that sells real estate now. Have you considered, or maybe you are actually monetizing that in itself, is like just teaching this and charging for webinars or classes on how to get better at media in general, let alone real estate media?
And I have, it's bandwidth for me. And so right now we're still, I'm still, even though we're probably the largest team in Orlando volume wise, I still feel like I've such a baby team. Like we'll sell, $450 million in real estate this year, but that's not even 1% of our market. And so I'm just going to keep going all in on the media company locally and maybe eventually start working with other agents and that sort of thing. But goal is like 2% market share in Orlando, which would be like 3,000 sites.
Bobby,
I admire that. Yeah, I admire that so much. That's I'm drawn to good to great. And being the hedgehog and not the fox, right? Do one thing really, really, really well, even though clearly you're talented and so is your team. You could do several things. But we all know that if you were doing several things, then you'd be just okay at everything, right? Dan had another question. You keep mentioning, your team. How many agents do you have on your team now?
28.
28 agents on your team. Are you still selling your own listings, or are you divvying those up to your team?
Yeah. Try to stay. So I sell 1 to 2 homes a month. And that's really more so because, well, for one, I'm playing with some of the larger listings, which are fun and they create good content and more buzz. But I also want the content to be good and relevant. Like when I'm coaching my agents, I want to be able to understand, like 3 years ago when we were going through, appraisal waivers and inspection waivers, and you had to write 17 offers to get one accepted. If I didn't have to personally go through that, I feel like I wouldn't have as much cachet with my agents or the content that I was putting out. So if I'm getting up in front of a camera talking about how days on market are way up and what my sellers are actually dealing with, I better have some sellers that I'm actually dealing with. And so I don't think I'll ever give up production all the way. So yeah, I'm still, but I'm a much smaller unit guy compared to other people on my team.
Yes, still in the ring, just not taking as many fights, right? Love it.
Exactly right.
Very cool. Got a couple. Don Hill, Tampa Bay, real producers, owner and publisher, good friend of ours. Question on your opinion on personal branded YouTube channels, meaning your name versus company branded, your team name or your company name. Should you do one versus the other or both? And I'm going to add another question here. Why for each?
I'll try to remember all of that. I think you go personal brand. Like for me, I think people would rather click on Ken Posick than moving to Orlando YouTube channel. That's just what I found to be true. My personal brand is growing a lot faster than my team brand, even though we're putting out roughly the same amount of content, because I think people want to connect with a person over Compass, right? Like nobody's working with Compass because Compass is who they are. They're working with their local agent who they know, like, and trust. And so, or Keller Williams, I'm with Keller Williams, whatever. It doesn't matter what brand you're with. And so that's my personal opinion, and it's worked out really well for us.
Yeah. Seems like too, if I'm moving to Orlando, then I have to kind of stay in that lane, and it becomes an obligation versus like, if I want to put about a video out of me with my family, the content doesn't really align all the way with moving to Orlando as much as it does my own brand.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and you're not finding those usernames in the search results, right? You're finding videos in the search results. So what you name your channel doesn't really matter as much. So I go personal brand.
I want to take over real quick, Bobby, because we've got a couple questions about tags, and I'm curious to this about boosting SEO and tags. How do they matter on the different platforms? Because for the longest time, like, man, tags and hashtags were like the thing, and then it was like, don't do hashtags, and now I'm just confused. So like all the platforms, break it down. It seems like TikTok still likes it. Instagram is YouTube is still important. Tell me.
Yeah, it's what you just exactly named. I couldn't really say it even better. Instagram, it doesn't matter. Like Adam Mosseri came out and said this week, where the CEO of Instagram said that hashtags are fine. They don't really push any organic reach unless you're trying to like link videos. So if I'm like the Moving in Orlando team or whatever, and I put that hashtag on every video, and somebody clicks on that hashtag, now they'll see every video that we've ever created or whatever. If you're trying to get something going, but it doesn't have anything to do with organic reach. Same on YouTube. YouTube is, you're signaling to YouTube a little bit about what your video is about, but it's not doing any massive reach. SEO comes from your title and the first 200 characters of your description on YouTube. That's where you want to focus, is like title, keep it kind of shortened to the point, focusing on SEO if you can, as much as you can. And then those first 200 characters of the description. Here's another hack I'll leave you guys with, and or if you have other questions, I'm fine. But like hack on description. So description used to be where we did a lot of our conversion. We would have, here's the description of the video. And then after the description, we would put, by the way, if you're looking to sell or buy a house anywhere in Orlando, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Visit http:/theorlandoreal.com/YouTube. HTTPS allows it to be a clickable link in the description. But we've noticed that nobody was clicking in the description anymore because you don't see the description anymore. You see the comments first. They're trying to make it more of a social platform. And so the idea, the hack there is every time you post a video on YouTube, post your own comments with your call to action and then pin it. because then it'll stay at the top. So when people are scrolling through and they're looking at the comments, yours is first. And then all of a sudden, we went from we're getting all these leads, and then people stopped clicking on the link on the description. I'm like, what the heck happened? We started adding it in the comments with pins. Leads went right back up. So it's kind of funny how that works.
Questions pouring in. First one, what do you boost anything? Do you take a video that you're like, this is killer, I'm gonna run ads with it?
Not at all. Yeah. Which probably should. So we actually just brought on Spencer's his name on our team to help with figuring out what are the videos that are working, and then reposting them as an ad. So not boosting our videos. This will actually screw you up. So on YouTube, for example, if you take a video that's crushing and then turn that same video into a discovery ad, all of a sudden your views will go to the tank. Because if you're putting that video as let's say a sponsor somewhere, and people are clicking off the video as fast as possible or skipping it as fast as possible, now you're signaling to YouTube that video sucks. And so you have to be really careful. So we've always gone organic because I don't want to get caught on the Google.
Wow, that's interesting. Something I wouldn't have thought of.
So now we're looking at that as like, how do we chop them up? Maybe put them on a secondary channel and run those as ads, because at that point we can control and we don't screw up our organic algorithm.
Two platforms that don't really thrive in video, at least to my knowledge, are LinkedIn and X, but they're very prevalent in social media. They're very big, I think, even in real estate if you do it the right way. Are those two platforms that you use? Do you do video? Do you do something different?
My LinkedIn strategy is I actually do have it time blocked to try to add everybody I can or connect with everybody I can locally that is like in that C-suite level or like executive, C-suite, senior manager, whatever, people that might have this is my strategy, and it's actually crushing in the builder community, in the healthcare community, people that might care about my content. But the only thing that I post is literally my live on Thursday, because I go on StreamYard, and on StreamYard, the reason I use that is because you can go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, it's Twitch, all at the same time. And it aggregates all of the comments in one place. And so I'm going through these comments. So we started getting a bunch of business from LinkedIn because all those connectors in my community now see my live. They're DMing me like, hey, we've got somebody moving to the area. We got this new neighborhood that we're taking over from a builder who's like, hey, we don't want to pay for an on-site sales rep anymore. Would you guys take over these 8 listings? But just strictly from that one strategy.
So literally all you do is you connect with them. Do you send them a message as a pre-made message, or you just connect with them and now they see your stuff?
Not just connecting with them. Like, hey, looking to connect with people like you in Orlando. Hope you're well. That's it.
Man, that's great. We've used StreamYard as well. It's a great platform. I really have enjoyed it, especially for that live feature, because you can go live on all your channels. That's all the time we have for those questions, but I wanted to wrap up with RP Elevate. Bobby, we are getting super close to game day, September 29th and 30th. You guys can see Ken on stage live talking about all the things, YouTube videos, how to make your hair look so great on camera, and more. Bobby, any questions we didn't get to that we want to sign off with?
No, Ken, I mean, this was a lot of information, and for some of the questions being asked, I could tell that it was very fulfilling for some folks, but I know that this is about a quarter of what you know. I know that you've got a lot of knowledge in this space, and I've got like 3 pages of notes here. One of the things that I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate, and I think this is where we're going and we're going to stay for a long time, is your local focus. And I think that we went through a phase for people who are putting content out that were just hoping to get as many engagements as possible, which we all learned really is just a small dopamine hit, doesn't really turn into a transaction or really anything of that matter. So I really appreciate the focus on what we like to call at Real Producers, who many and not how many people. It just so happens that you got a lot of who many's in Orlando in the state of Florida. So thanks for giving out the goods, man. It's one of many fantastic traits that we learn in top producing agents across the country is they're willing to share their knowledge and experience to help other people in the field. And that's special. We really appreciate that.
Hey, real quick, if you're on this webinar, it means you're either a realtor who gets our magazine, aspires to get our magazine or a vendor who partners with us, I'm going to give you the code right now. Kyle, if you want to throw it in there, you get 33% off of your ticket to go to RP Elevate here September if you use the code COVER33. COVER33. So if you're listening to this, watching this, use the code COVER33. You get 33% off of any ticket. A chance to meet Ken and Molly Bloom, all the keynotes at RP Elevate September 29th. Ken, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, man.